Hey everybody, how's it going? I am back with an updated brow tutorial for you. So I'm going to take two matte brown eyeshadows. You can use an eyeshadow or a brow powder as long as it is matte and as long as it matches the darkest color in your hair. Since I just recently dyed my hair red, I'm using closer to an oranger shade of brown. And I'm taking the lighter color and using a slanted liner brush to just outline my brow and go underneath it. Then I'm going to use a darker color to fill in the tail of the brow and the middle and just the sparse areas. And I'm going to go back into the lighter area to come into the very front of the brow to kind of square that area off. That part is optional. And I'm going to continue to hit up just any spots that I see that are just a little bit sparse with the lighter shade. The cool thing about using a powder is that it's a lot more forgiving than a pencil or a gel. If you make a mistake, it's really easy to fix. And that is how my brow looks after filling it in with powder. Now, if you prefer the pencil method, which is probably a little bit more travel friendly, what you can do is grab a pencil and just begin at the very beginning of your brow and do feather-like strokes towards the arch. And try to stay near the bottom of your brow. What you're doing really is creating a border or a sharper line to mark where your brow begins and ends. Now once you have the bottom border completely marked out, what you're going to do is make the pencil go in feather-like strokes kind of upwards and outwards towards the temples, all along the brow, in through the middle of the brow. Basically you're drawing tiny little hairs above that border line. Then you just use a spoolie, or in my case, use the brush on the pencil to brush the little hairs back into place. And there you have a brow that's been penciled in. And if you make any mistakes, just go ahead and pinch it with your fingers, and the warmth from your fingers will help bring that brow product back to where you want it to be. And that is how my brow looks with a pencil. Now here's a method for those of you who have those brow hairs that point in all directions, or who have excessively blonde or white brow hairs. What I'm doing is I'm taking a brow gel, and instead of applying it with a spoolie, I'm applying it with a slanted liner brush, kind of the same way that I applied the brow powder, just in all the areas that I see that are sparse, and in any areas where there are hairs that are sticking up and pointing directions that I don't want them to be pointing. And basically the reason why I'm using a brush is because the spoolie distributes too much product onto the brow, and then the brow to me feels like it's going to crack if I raise it or make any expression at all. So this is much more comfortable for me. Plus it's a lot more moldable. I have more control over where the product goes. And the only con to it really is that you kind of have to work a little bit fast because once it dries it's not very moldable. But other than that, it's a pretty good method, especially if you're in a hurry. Then I like to take a brow brush or even just a clean spoolie to just brush all the hairs into place and make it look a little bit more natural. And that is how my brow looks with the gel. Now if you own all three products and you really want to make your brows stand out, I recommend using all three products. And you're going to start with a pencil, and you're going to use the same method with the pencil for the most part. You're going to begin by creating your bottom border to your eyebrow. Then you're going to take your brow brush and brush the hairs downwards so that you can see where the very top of your brow is, and you are going to create a top border. Try to make the border pretty crisp, not so crisp that it looks like it was drawn on with a magic marker, but at the same time pretty crisp. Give that a quick brush through with your brow brush, and then you're going to take your lighter brow powder and you're going to use the liner brush to fill in the lines. Basically go between the two borders, and you're going to fill every little bit of space between those two borders with that powder. Pay special attention to the arch and the tail. That area tends to get neglected. Next we're going to follow up by applying the brow gel basically the same way we did last time. And basically what this is going to accomplish is that it's going to make the hairs actually show up. Sometimes when you use a brow powder and a brow pencil, the actual hairs tend to disappear and then people can tell that it's not your real eyebrow. So the gel kind of brings them back to the surface and makes it look a little bit more realistic. Now when I'm done with my brows, I like to take a Q-tip and a concealer and just conceal all the way around the brows. This helps sharpen the borderline so that it looks a little bit more clean and polished. And I like to use a Q-tip because somehow I think it gives me a little bit more control than an actual brush does, and it's easier for me to blend. You guys can use a brush or your fingers if you want. I do recommend that you try the Q-tip method though, because you might like it. I didn't think I was going to like it, and I liked it. So go ahead and give it a try and let me know in the comments what you think. I like to give it one last brush through to make sure that there's no concealer in the actual eyebrow and to soften it up a little bit. And that is how my brow looks with all three methods. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks again. Bye-bye.